Hey everybody, welcome to Raising Vibrations. You're with Simon today. And we're talking about Pluto and Capricorn. Hey everybody, and welcome to Raising Vibrations. You're with Simon. And today we're talking about Pluto and Scorpio generation, and particularly the Uranus and Neptune configuration that is in Capricorn, and also the conjunction that actually took place in 1993. So that's what today's video is about. And I'm inspired in some way, shape, or form to deliver this message to you because there's not only something that I've shifted within myself after understanding this insight, but also I felt the importance regarding actually seeing it from a different perspective. Okay, so I'll make more clear in terms of what I mean by that. So for me personally, I've really been curious about the different types of ways that energy manifests in the generations. And I'm trying to figure out what type of psychological, emotional experiences each of us as just, the normal human beings that are not in some elite state of life, what is happening to you? Like, what type of parental structures did you grow up in? What type of early life environment were you exposed to? And how much of your own sort of maybe misplaced emotion or traumatized states or any of that you carry with you, your wounding basically, what you carry with you. I've been trying to figure out specifically how these archetypes have been playing out in these souls. And the Uranus and Pluto, or should I say the Uranus and Neptune souls themselves, have been eluding me a little bit because I've got it, but I don't seem to get it just there. And so it dropped for me today. After observing a Pluto in Scorpio soul that's actually been struggling quite a lot with a certain type of behavior that just keeps on creating this like loss. And I realized that for many of you, you carry with this Pluto and Scorpio signature, right? So the ruler of your Pluto is Scorpio, and that in itself is Pluto. So there's this double-edged Scorpio, Plutonic energy that you guys all come in with, okay? Now, as an overall arc, you naturally carry the transmutable energy that will take over on the planet in whatever year's time. But that doesn't make sense right now because it's like, what do you have to go through right now to be able to have the necessary wisdom to be able to do the transmuting to begin with? So I've been focusing on that and trying to figure this out, and it hit me. It was that you guys firstly carry with you something that I've noticed that was very, very clear, okay? The father, okay? The father either plays a role in your life where he, in some way, shape, or form, and remember, this is specific to the souls that have got Uranus and Capricorn in, Uranus in Capricorn and Neptune in Capricorn, and then specifically at conjunction as well. This would be highlighted for you. This is the research that I've been doing. So, like I said, the father plays this really, really interesting role where you grow up and he either plays out this role as an incredibly wealthy, strong, power-orientated soul, but yet from an emotional level is unable to actually be there for you. Okay, so you experience on some deep level, like this deep inner abandonment regarding the father because you've watched how, or not necessarily abandonment, okay, where the father goes out into the world, has all the riches, and yet at the same time couldn't actually provide you with the very thing that you were seeking from that emotional security perspective, that sense of you're basically emotionally abandoned in the experience. And most of the mums were in some way, shape, or form either left with the housework, which left them with a deep sense of resentment or unactualized essence in themselves. So they carry this kind of like futility archetype, right? So there's this futility that you carry with that Capricorn signature as well, or with inside of yourself, right? Or the disempowerment. You see the empowerment, you see the disempowerment. It's like the contrasts are so clear. Then there's the other group of you that has the loss of the father, where your dad passes away, or the father archetype passes away really early in life, and you kind of grow up either just by your mom, just by yourself with your mom, and she's all sort of like having to do all the types of jobs, and she's a crazy mess because she's had to do all these types of things, but it's been so overwhelming and it's futility. And, eventually at some point, there's just this mom archetype that's there that's having to do both of them. And it's pretty insane because, again, there's that emotional thing that's not really there. You don't really get the guidance of what the father looks like from a protective point of view. Mom just provided you with the things that you needed. So maybe even a sense of like disempowerment through scarcity. Okay. And so the loss of the father completely, the absence of it, leaving you in a situation, like I said, where there's that absence of direction. What does it look like in the world? How do I direct myself? How do I empower myself through that process? And then you have the last one, which is the betrayal. And this is the one where Pop decided, or Mom decided, to have an affair, which led you into the situation where there's the betrayal between Mom and Dad. And you experience that complete and utter, like the secrets, the lies, etc. And again, it's like no trust. So you carry within yourself, each of you, in some way, shape, or form, an aspect of that story. And that will be directly relative to the nature of what it is that you will need to grow or improve or nurture within your own life, because it's the very thing that's absent within you. And so that Pluto and Scorpio shows up as the complete loss, and that's the disempowerment that takes place. And one of those will show up. And I think that this is really important to play, because the souls that I've observed that has the father missing through the death shows up as, I don't know how to direct myself. So I'm just like a man-child in a certain degree. Like you're growing up and you're like, my inner child's over here, but I really don't know how to be creatively intelligent, or I really don't know how to put my boundaries in place. So I overcompensate with scorpionic things, and I appear to make myself strong, but really deep down inside, I'm just feeling like I can't actually protect myself. So I'm going to create a sort of like charade, as it were. The souls that have got the dad that has moved on are emotionally incapable of looking after themselves. So what they do is they naturally draw into themselves parents that will facilitate, or older men that will facilitate that missing dad archetype. Now, if you're a woman in this case, or somebody that's, you guys are, if you're a woman, if a girl, right, or part of the feminine archetype, then you come into this experience where exactly that, you're looking for that dad. Whereas the mother gets facilitated if you're the guy or the masculine archetype, right? Or you're looking for that nurturing person that will take care of you, but from a more sort of secure perspective. And I've observed how these choices get made, and it's always the mature energies that represent, that you get drawn to, that are really actually manifesting in your life as the absence that was through your growing up period. And then the betrayal manifests as drawing people into your life that you can't trust at all, that have got trust issues themselves. And I was trying to figure out why, again, there was this deep fascination, but also deep compassion towards those souls. And I realized that part of my own journey carries that archetype within itself. I was like, oh my God, yeah. Those are the very archetypes that I carry with inside of myself, that I noticed that when I resonate with somebody's Pluto and Scorpio's generation pain, I'm like, Jesus, that's insane. But that sucks. What can we do? Obviously we're here to recognize our own pain as our growth process. So I'm not saying that we have to be victimized by it. But what I am saying is that it's real, and that these things do actually plague our potential for human growth in ourselves because of those traumas or wounds that we carry. And we do have to acknowledge them. And so I recognized that within myself and went, okay, now I get the connection, why I feel the empathy and such. But then I was like, but it still doesn't make sense to me. And then I started to do some research on the internet about this conjunction. And I noticed that maybe there are an odd few people, I can count on my one hand over here, at best, that have maybe even added a little bit about what it means to be a child that was born during that period and had to grow up during that period when 9/11 had taken place, and you come into this world with this consciousness that anything could end at any point in time, or there is no security, or we are in a constant state of crisis. It's like those things are difficult, and those things they plague us in our relationships. They plague us in the way that we perceive our potential, like I said. And that's when it hit me as well, is that who's validating you guys? Who's actually saying, yeah, that must have been really difficult. And yeah, not growing up with the dad archetype must have also sucked, because to a certain degree, who could you look up to? You didn't know anybody. But because Capricorn also correlates to this relationship of guilt and this judgment, etc., there's also this like inner sense of lack that you carry, that there's something inherently wrong with you. And that there's this inner judgment, this self-worth that you also struggle with on occasions and stuff. And another thing was the relationship towards the Uranus-Neptune conjunction, and also in Capricorn as you carry that. And it correlates to this. In order for the future, or in order for the new construction or the new energy to manifest itself on the planet, you need to have in some way, shape, or form no influence from past dynamics that would shape you and your ideas going forward. So the blessing with regards to these things that were absent in your youth was the fact that you have to now spend the time reflecting upon the nature of what it is that is absent, grow that inside of yourself, and then empower yourself going forward, because it's that new definition that you empower within yourself that becomes the very vehicle for Earth's new planetary structure. Those ideas, those definitions. You are your own father. You are your own guide. You are your own security net, as it were. As Pluto's polarity point correlates to Taurus. So it's about, how do I create self-reliance? How do I become less dependent on other people and more dependent on my own emotional and psychological safety? And if you can step into that space and empower yourself from there, and also recognize that a lot of the reasons why those early life conditions were playing out was because of that mere fact. It is to create an entirely new evolutionary cycle regarding you. And if you had influenced by those archetypes, you would not then be carrying the new seeds for the future. You'd be carrying influenced ones. And so if you can find that resolution in yourself to a certain degree and validate that within yourself, then at least I feel like I've done something here, which is amazing. So that's my message to you today. I really hope that you enjoyed that. I'd be interested to hear your comments in the descriptions and below. But other than that, guys, have a wonderful week and take care. Bye-bye.